We are live. All right, everyone. So I am coming today unscripted and just to pop on because I wanted to bring you guys some truth that I have found. I wanted to go over the science versus the marketing hype behind zeolites and some other things that I have insider information on the shot. So I guess we'll just start at it. I know this is not going to be a very popular thing, and a lot of people are going to get mad. Just a little bit I've talked about it. I'm already having death threats and people saying that I'm despicable and I'm all kinds of stuff. So here we go. So if you don't bring it up and don't talk about it, you're complicit in the whole thing. So I can't do that. So for those of you who don't know, what is a zeolite? There's actually a lot of zeolites. So whenever you hear the word zeolite, it can be all kinds of things. But pretty much what it is it's an aluminosilicate that is made from volcanoes exploding and the ash going into seawater, creating a crystalline structure that's negatively charged naturally. It attracts positively charged things in the earth. Overview. However, there are different kinds of zeolites, and the one that we talk about particularly, and that is a hot topic on social media, is called clinoptenolite. We're going to call it clino because it's really hard to say clinoptenolite a lot. Especially I had a speech impediment as a kid, so it's really hard for me to say. So anyway, clinoptenolite, clino, is the only zeolite that is safe for human consumption as far as independent lab studies. Oh,
well, there's one other one, bentonite's established.
Bentonite. Yeah. Bentonite clay. A lot of people don't know that bentonite clay is actually a zeolite.
So I'll hit on a couple of those points just real quick. The class of minerals, well, it's really crystals and clays that make up zeolite. So you've got clinoptilolite, you have bentonite, you have mordanite, heulandite. Quartz is a zeolite. Asbestos.
Yep.
The zeolite. So you have this range of crystals that are very unique in their molecular structure. So clinoptilolite has a couple different molecular structures. Right? So you have calcium, magnesium aluminosilicates, you have sodium aluminosilicates. So there's a lot of complexity into this class. I think there's 84 or so different zeolites as structure and type. But of those, people know quartz because of its energetic potential and such. People are familiar with bentonite. Many people, well, I would say most people have some experience with clinoptilolite. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Everyone has experience with clinoptilolite. They just don't know it because clino is actually used in municipal water filtration systems.
Yep.
It's used in a lot of home water filtration systems. It's used in kaopectate. Many people are familiar with kaopectate that haven't used Pepto-Bismol. It's not used as much anymore, but if you grew up like I did, you were around a lot of kaopectate. And it's also used in kitty litter.
Mm-hmm.
So clinoptilolite and bentonite actually are, primary constituents in kitty litter. And one of the cool things is, if you remember back a few years ago, there were the green bags that were really popular for putting fruit into to bind nitrogen.
Yeah.
My son stores in a photo shoot. That's so young.
I'm on live. But the green bags that were so good at binding nitrogen so your fruit could last longer, what they put to line that bag to bind the nitrogen was clinoptilolite.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
it's very well established, very well proven for its capabilities, which we're going to hit on a little bit. So
yes, we will. So that's kind of what I wanted to go over is actually, I guess we'll start at the studies. So the studies are all done on the powdered zeolite, so which is a micronized zeolite in size. So I'm just going to come out and say it. There's a lot of things going on about nano zeolites in different companies,
which I will hold my tongue to not say things improperly because of the potential audience. But most of the claims about nano zeolites aren't even factual or true when a proper analysis is done. So keep going.
Yeah. So that's kind of That's what I have found in my research. So a lot of you guys know that I used to work with nanozeolites and I was an advocate for it. But whenever I got away from the marketing hype and actually looked at the science behind what it actually is and not just what a company says to sell something, I was actually pretty shocked. And it took quite a while to come out of that shock and to kind of get over it and to realize the difference between what a company says to sell things and what the actual science shows.
And you can actually see that on their own material, you know, I think for PBX, if you look at the claims of some of their imagery, if you understand like dark field microscopy or scanning electron microscope imagery, they claim that the images are 180,000 times magnification. Well, if you use 180,000 times magnification, you can basically see spots on the sun, you know, or you're not looking at fragments at that point. You're looking at atoms. Mm-hmm. I mean, most scanning electron microscope images will go to 10,000 times mag, I think max. And that's all that's really needed. I mean, because you're really, really, really zooming in on some stuff and you're playing with at a nano scale at that point. And it's the hard part from companies. And there's not just one, there's a lot of them. And this happens in all aspects of business in different areas where, you know, they say, oh, well, if we say it this way, or if we spin it, or we use this imagery and we make it sound like it's really special or complex, then people will buy into it. And that's just not true. Well, it is true, they'll buy into it, but the fact.
Oh, you're on mute. But okay, yeah. The fact is that, yeah. So, oh, you got a phone call. So, I want to go over the size. So a nano size, whenever that size is claimed, that's actually the size that is claimed is actually the size of or smaller than our DNA. So that's very interesting. And you're still muted. Oh, okay, good. So that's an issue. Another issue I found is saying that it goes cellular. And as we know, zeolite in its form like that is not bioavailable to the body. So there are no studies that shows that it actually goes into the cell and goes cellular.
I'm going to bite my tongue because I don't want to go off too much. The cellular question is the same actually as the blood-brain barrier question, but the blood-brain barrier question is one we'll probably answer separately. Of can you create a structure that can permeate cellular membranes? Yes. Will clinoptilolite do it on its own no matter the size? No, it's inert. It doesn't have any binding sites. It doesn't have the ability to permeate membranes. And you know, it can, because of its a sodium aluminosilicate, if you have it on its own, the sodium and the silica, depending upon parts of the structure, can cross membranes, and depending upon the size, right? Which you don't need to be nano to cross specific membranes. But as far as getting into the cell, there's no proof of it, and you honestly don't need to. And we've seen that under live blood cell analysis of working with cleanslate and the formula behind cleanslate. The fragments don't need to get into a cell, right? It's not needed. What they'll do is they'll act like a magnet and they'll communicate with the cell. They'll clean the binding sites on the cell, which is most important. But we've even seen, and I'd have to find the video because I didn't get to keep it. We saw in live blood parasites actually leaving their host, being drawn to the fragments.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen, right? But there's nothing that the fragments are actually crossing the cellular membrane to get inside a cell to detoxify it. It's not needed. So, but that's actual science. And it's looking at a transportation medium of what blood is and getting into tissue. Now, can you permeate tissue? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's where the real conversation gets into. It's not just making outlandish claims, not having any support behind it. But one of the key things in that is the companies that are promoting this are all MLM based. They're not science driven. They have no scientific backgrounds. The people that are there, I know that because, well, of the companies you're talking about with PBX, with Touchstone, I know Eddie Stone really well. I worked with Eddie initially when I started in this industry 16 years ago. I know Eddie's background. I was a co-founder of Cosiva. I was the original product formulator that brought the original product to them, which I pulled rather quickly because I learned quite quickly that the parties involved, you know, Rob Goldbranson and what's his name? Lawrence Villegas and such that were with Cosiva when I was there lacked a lot of the integrity that I would want to work with. I didn't see a good fit, so I pulled the product, and you know that led to them filing some frivolous attempts to keep me to be quiet in the state of Utah. But you know, it's important to understand what the focus of the company is, what the company's formulated from, what industry they're in, because the MLM industry is not predicated on creating a lot of high quality products. The industry is predicated on creating products that have extremely high margin, that might get some results in some aspects, because there are some good products in the industry, but have extremely high margins that allow products to be sold to pay out commissions and for the company owners to make a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about creating outcomes. It's not about really having clinical science or especially a level of biotech understanding that allows one to create products and formulas that can create clinical outcomes that are really desired.
You know, that makes sense, because I remember the first time I met you was November 2 years ago. So it would be November 2 years ago. And you came on my page because I was talking about TRS. And you had mentioned that. And then I immediately got a call from Lawrence and from Eddie saying, he's a bad guy. He's not a good guy. You need to block him. And I'm like,
he's like, well, thanks for watching my page. Like, wow, I'm being stalked.
I know. I'm like, okay. But yeah, so that makes a lot of sense, is that they don't want the information out.
The other part, hi, Eddie. Hi, Lawrence. You never call me anymore. We should talk. We should do a live like this where we can all get together. I've wanted to do this for a while.
So, but going beyond that, there's also the thing of the cation exchange that I kind of want to explain to people, the cation exchange, because marketing hype tells you that the cation exchange, you know, that it's enough. It helps the body not deplete of minerals. It's not a supplement. It's a trace mineral, so it's not in high amounts, but it helps the body with the as it takes the heavy metals to replace it with a mineral. To a small degree, yes, there's a cation exchange. So what the cation exchange is zeolite naturally has calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium in it. And so whenever the idea is, it's loosely held together because they're very light positive charge. So whenever it comes against something like mercury, it's +3, it'll take the mercury and it will give the calcium or potassium in its place, and that helps the body. But science talks to us about something called mineral gapping. So what it is a lot of these heavy metals that we have in our body actually bind to our receptor sites in our cells and onto our tissues, and they actually block the body from being able to absorb the minerals that we need. So a lot of people think, let's say they think they're magnesium deficient, but they're really not magnesium deficient. They're mercury toxic because their body can't absorb the mercury. So what happens is, yeah.
Or the magnesium.
Or the magnesium. Yes, that was just an example. Yep. Or lead and calcium or cadmium and iron. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So what happens is if you don't have enough minerals and you're removing those heavy metals, your body kind of thinks that that was a mineral because they're very similar structure in the body for the receptors. So your body thinks that it's releasing and getting rid of the mineral. So that can kind of send your body into a freak out mode. And that's what we call mineral gapping. So as your body releases those metals, it needs the minerals to hold on to help homeostasis. So, and a lot of people are mineral deficient. A lot of people say, you know, oh, I took this and I felt great for a little while, you know, but then I got worse. Whenever you are mineral deficient and then you give your body minerals, you're going to feel better for a little bit. The problem is clean minerals and the sourcing of minerals that you want. So there's a lot of people taking different products out there and everything, but one of the closest to actually our blood type, or not type, but our blood structure is sea salts. And there's actually a place, I believe it's off the Italian coast, I believe. I'll have to look it up, but I believe it's off the Italian coast. And they actually drill way down into the ocean bottom, and they actually have found some sea salts that whenever you look under the microscope, it's almost identical to human blood. So those are the type of minerals that you want to substitute with in order for the body to be bioavailable, for it to be bioavailable to the body to stop the mineral gapping. So I know several people, one of them is my business partner and friend, and she was on just the normal zeolites and everything for a long time, and she had never had any dental issues in her life, nothing. She'd never even had a cavity. And now she is, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I could say it. Okay, Jill. I didn't know if I could tell everybody it was you. So now Jill has cavities and her teeth have little black holes in them. What happened was her body was being depleted of minerals. So she had that mineral gapping going on. So that's really, really important. And depending on your mineral amount that you already have in your body, actually depends on if you're going to feel it for a while or not, and how it's going to affect you or not, just like toxicity, because you have your body burdened with toxicity, and that's what we want to lower. And that's why zeolite's a hot topic. And I'm not anti-zeolite, guys. You guys know me. I'm not anti-zeolite. I love zeolites. But I want you guys to know the difference between the science and how to properly use it versus the marketing hype of companies. The information I'm giving you guys today, I have said, and like I said, I've gotten death threats. I've said that I'm despicable because it's hurting these companies' pocketbooks big time. So, and they don't like it. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, they hit on the mineral gapping aspect. I think you covered really well, but clinoptilolite has really unique cationic exchange properties, right? And it has a hierarchy of metals that it likes, kind of in order, but it is not specifically in order. But it loves heavy metals. It will bind metals and toxins based on size, density, and charge, right? So we know mercury is a +3, and it's really small in size and very molecularly dense. So the molecular weight of mercury is a lot heavier than than all other metals. I don't know if it's maybe not all, but it's one of the heaviest of the heavy metals. It has a +3 charge, which is the highest charge. And you compare that to an arsenic, a cesium, a strontium, and aluminum, which aluminum is lighter in charge, as people are familiar with. But when you take a calcium, a magnesium, a potassium, a sodium and such, they're much larger in size and they're lighter in charge. I'm dealing with an emergency too, with some stuff. So you keep talking, I'm listening, but I've got to handle this.
Okay. Well, I hope everything's okay. Okay. Yeah. So that kind of goes. So what happens is the body will, or the zeolite will go after those charges first. And some people will see, they'll see maybe their brain fog goes away. And then all of a sudden, a little bit later, it might come back and they don't think it's working. But what happens is it'll remove the super toxic ones first, and then it might go to another area of the body because there's something else there. Maybe at first you had mercury toxicity of the hypothalamus and it dealt with a little bit of that, your brain fog went away. And then you have lead leaching out of your bones, so you're developing osteoporosis. So it goes to that area and removes that. So it's very intelligent because it's an intelligent, not that it's intelligent itself, but it was designed by intelligence. So it can go here and fro. So that's just something to know about it. But whenever how do I say it? I'm just tired of all of the marketing and people being used, to be honest. I'm just tired of it. People being used and being told things just to make a dollar. You know, people in this world are being used enough by the evil. We don't need to do it to each other. I think the person behind the product is a really big deal, no matter what you take. I love, I was just about to talk about your beautiful wife, Clayton.
Well, that's the fun part. Even I can, I can create the imagery of the oil painting of her. And I think I have one on the books here.
And this is actually why I have Clayton on with me today, is because of his beautiful wife, Dr. Christina Rahm. You say it way better than me, Clayton, her background.
Well, most importantly, she's a woman
Mm-hmm.
and a mom of 4. And she's lost twins to cancer. She's had another son who had cancer when he was 2. Our oldest son was twinned with a partial molar pregnancy, meaning his twin actually became cancer. She had Lyme disease when she was 19 and lost her memory. And she's dealt with cancer since she was 27 years old and elected not to have a medical abortion, to have the oldest one, and receive no treatment during her pregnancy because it would have killed him. That's what's most important, right? Is she's a mom. And because she's a mom, she's a little bit unique. And she was actually put here to help heal people, is what she learned when she was 2 years old. And she's been anointed to do that. And it's not just one person. It wasn't her personal experience. It's what she's been told by people all over the world, that this is what she's here for. And through her journey, she's earned a master's in science, a PhD, a PsyD, an EDD, a postdoc at Harvard in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering, postdoc at Cornell in pharmaceutical management and nutritional counseling. She's been an adjunct professor at Johns Hopkins in oncology. She's worked at Pfizer, Alexion, Biogen IDEC, Johnson & Johnson, UCB, Bristol Myers Squibb. And she's worked in every aspect of it, from cloning and molecular design work to research to research on the vaccines that are being used today. 16 years ago, when Bristol Myers Squibb and Johnson & Johnson were using them to work on HIV vaccines, which was an utter failure for multiple reasons, which is a different conversation piece. But what she's done is she's taken her history in biotech and pharma and the work that she did a few years ago in Harvard in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering. And I'll tell you, Harvard's a little bit different. They have wicked smart people, and the stuff that they have access to is unique. And instead of doing what biotech is really, really good at, which you have to understand the simple principles, they're taking what nature provided in many aspects, isolating specific compounds, and then synthesizing it to make it synthetic, and then patent it and make drugs with it.
Mm-hmm.
She took that knowledge, but instead of trying to synthesize what nature created to make a synthetic, she took what nature created and used all the science that she's learned to magnify it, to go the other way, to make what God put here even better. It's like the BASF approach to making greatness, right? Don't go the dark way and try to create synthetics. Amplify what we have. And from my experience when we were put together 6 years ago, I knew my focus, my mission has been around being able to help clean people up, people, animals, and the environment. That's what I was put here for. It's what God tapped me on the shoulder for 16 years ago. But about 6.5 years ago, when John Sally introduced me to her, it was the second time that I got the tap, and I understood that she's the one I'm supposed to do it with, but I'm supposed to serve her. Only through me being of service to her is any part of my mission going to be fulfilled. So I'm here for her benefit, and her job is to take care of everybody else. So I'm the tool, no matter how you want to look at it. And what's so important is show me another company that has any one of her scientific acumen. Let me make it really simple for you. There isn't one. But show me any of these other companies that actually has a woman in charge. And if you want the key to business, and this has been proven in business over the last 15 years, most of the top producing, or many of the top producing businesses, large companies, are companies that have brought in female management or female CEOs, because women function differently. But the problem is, and this is what drives me absolutely insane, is you have really weak men, there's a lot of them, that will attack women because women don't like litigation. Yet bitches are the ones who do it. And they will try to attack women because emotionally they can't deal with the stress. They're not made to. So you have all these weak men that will attack really strong women to try to drag them down to their level, because amazing women resonate at a level of which guys can't even comprehend. So you have amazing women like Shanna and Jill and some of the others in our community, whether they're amazing moms or they're amazing moms with doctorates. It doesn't matter, because honestly, at the end of the day, if you really want to make smart decisions, surround yourself with amazing, smart women. I'm really fortunate because I'm put here to serve probably the most dynamic woman I've ever seen or ever met, and that stories have been written about. So don't trust me. Don't trust Shanna. Yeah, you should trust Shanna. But
do your own research.
do your own work. But look at who's making or who created what you're taking.
Mm-hmm.
And if they won't share that, or they can't share it, that says a ton in its own.
Yep. So I told everybody that I'm not anti-clinoptenolite. I actually love zeolites and clinoptenolite.
Clino is the master. But here's the key thing. Can I hit on this? Because this is where I go off a little bit. Clinoptilolite is the greatest freaking crystal God's ever put here.
Mm-hmm.
Period. No questions asked. Once you have some knowledge and some research behind you, and granted, I've done this for 16 years. I started researching this stuff 16 years ago. And when Eddie Stone and Stan Charlestein, and with the help of Rick Deitch, because Rick Deitch is the one that had the license to sell or to license the product from Life Health Science, and Harvey Kaufman, who were the original, Harv was the original creator of this process, this simple process to use a bunch of acid and such to break apart clinoptilolite in its early form. And that's what Eddie Stone and Rick Deitch and had done. And that's where the company Wayora had actually come from. That's where I got introduced to the space. And I was put on the phone with Rick really early on because of my background growing up around a veterinary practice and having some clinical acumen, and really loving the biochemistry and that tap, where this stuff is easy for me. It's not, oh, I'm special, I'm smart or anything. This is what what is really simple and easy for me. So diving into that and watching what they did, that within 18, I think it was within 18 months, that the product exploded. I mean, I think I had over 25,000 people in, I forgot how many countries, in a very short period of time, and that we were doing amazing things because the product was working. But like many companies in the MLM space that don't focus on outcomes, that's not their goal. It was never their intention in the first place to help people. It was all about making money. They defrauded Life Health Science and Harv Kaufman. They stopped paying their royalties and tried to create the product on their own, and didn't tell anybody they were doing it. They just did it. So they completely changed the formula and changed the process, which changed how the product was functioning. It actually stopped working the way that it had. I got to see that pretty quickly because the product changed color. And, I got phone calls from my parents saying, hey, we've had these issues and now the product's not working. These animals had these issues. They went away. Now this product changed and we can see it. And the animals have issues coming back. This is a concern. So anybody that's around a company, and especially that's in charge of a company like Eddie Stone, Stan Charlstein, and Rick Deitch, that have done that with a company, I'm sorry. I mean, it's horrific. So when your business acumen and your business foundation is built on those principles, and then you've gone and done it again because that behavior actually caused the demise of that company, and Eddie then started his own company and basically did the same thing again, and you go, well, your behavior doesn't mean the way you're talking and what you're saying, but people are going to judge us more on our actions than our language because, for me, my philosophy is walk, teach, heal, right? So people will judge you based on your walk and sometimes what you say, but it's a combination of the two. So you've got to make sure that things are being done with the proper level of integrity, I think. But you can judge that based on the product and products. You can judge that based on function, because the space that they play in, the MLM space, is really just based on a pissing match, right? It's, oh well, somebody said this and somebody said that, and it's all hearsay or people claiming one thing, and it's like middle school, right? And it's not needed. It's like, do some analysis, ask some questions. If you can't get your questions answered, there's a reason. And at that point, I would probably look towards other alternatives. But we're all a clinical study of one, right? So do your own comparisons. Try different products, right? Just because you're getting a check from one place doesn't mean you shouldn't try other stuff to see if it's better. And I've done that. I've been in sales, I've been in marketing, I've been in consulting, I've been in formulation, I've been in manufacturing. That's what we do with Clean Slate. Christina's uncompromising in quality. It's some things never good enough for her, right? So she's constantly tinkering. So what we started with Clean Slate is not what Clean Slate is now. It's better, it's enhanced. So
I'm going to have you touch on one thing, and then I want to explain another aspect of Zeolite that a lot of people don't know. Anna is awesome, and she did bring up the link behind MLM.com, companies Root Wellness sued by Metron Nutraceuticals.
Yeah, you can. So to give you a little bit on my story, what was it? 6 years ago, I created Metron Nutraceuticals because of my position in the zeolite space. I had George and Donna Antar. Donna is the chief medical officer at Genes Global, which is a very, very large MLM company. George is one of their top income earners. He actually had Lyme disease when he called me. They had a product that they were selling called Propectin, and the distributor for Propectin that was supplying them the product stole $20 million in cash on a quarterly order. And they called me, and because of a referral, and said, you know what, we're not going to use apple pectin again. We need a better product. We hear you're the person to talk to about that. And so I went and did the dog and pony show and ended up signing an initial contract with this. At the time, they were doing about $40 million a month in sales, which I don't know who you are. That's statistically significant to me. Any company doing $40 million a month is one you pay attention to. And if, as a manufacturer, as a distributor, if you can get a contract with a company doing $40 million a month in revenue that was buying $20 million a quarter of a product that you can replace, you can create a pretty good business off of that, right? $20 million a quarter. If that's a client, you go, even with 2% margins, you're not hurting. So I did the initial contract and ended up creating Metron, but the way I wanted to do it, we changed, and I took on a business associate who was the lab director with Life Health Science, because I was consulting with Life Health Science and Kent Adams and Harv Kaufman. Kent's the former CEO at Life Health Science. Bert Moyer is the owner of Life Health Science. You can look all this shit up. I don't care. And Bert's philosophy for what he wanted to do to Jeunesse was not conducive with my ethics or my level of integrity. And so I knew that I had to do something different. Nicholas Karapanos, who was the lab manager for Life Health Science, who claims to be a PharmD and a PhD and an MD, but all of his work was done in Greece. He has no certification in the United States, was the lab manager. He was the lab manager because he was brought to the United States by the Mayo Clinic. He was working in Minnesota as a researcher at the Mayo Clinic, and he wasn't a doctor. He was a researcher, and he applied for a job in Ohio at the Cleveland Clinic, and the Mayo Clinic's number 2 in the country when it comes to cardiovascular work. The Cleveland Clinic's number 1. So he applied for a job at the Cleveland Clinic, and was based on his certification of being a doctor and everything, that all was done in Greece, and took the offer, moved his family to Cleveland. And when it was the day to start, they found out that he wasn't a doctor. Couldn't offer him the job. I didn't figure all this out until after I started in business with him. But it was interesting to me that if you're this big deal and you're working at Mayo and you leave Mayo to go to Cleveland and you can't get a job at Cleveland and Mayo doesn't want you back, that would have been a clue. Didn't know that until I had some of my experience. But Nicholas told me that he was the creator of the process and he could do it. I was a little bit defrauded in that because it was Harvey's deal. And I started Metron with him. His job was to produce the product, which is using, his philosophy is using a hot plate with a 5-gallon pot, throw in some clinoptilolite with some water, with some acid, mix it up to about 415, 420 degrees for a little bit, stir it, ventilate off some of the acid. It's the same process that Life Health Science uses. So it's known, it's in patents, and it's rudimentary. You can do it in your kitchen if you wanted to. But I got the contract with Jeunesse. Their first order was 150,000 bottles. I just started the company and my first order was 150,000 bottles. Their down payment to allow us to start production was $675,000. Immediately upon that wiring hit, my ex-partner took it, refused to produce the product, took the money. Now, granted, this is a company that was ordering $20 million a quarter of the product that we're producing, that had someone steal that money. So the new provider is kind of important. He took the money and then sued them for breach of contract because they didn't send a purchase order. Seriously, they wired $675,000. You don't need a purchase order. But upon that happening, then he went after me, which I was an equal owner, 48.5% of the company, or 44.5% of the company. I think it was about that. Yeah, 44.5%. He went after me to get me out of the company so he could keep all the money that he stole. Instead of producing the product and getting paid for it, because the second order that they had ready to go as soon as we started production was 1 million bottles. Now imagine that. You started a company from scratch with the ability to produce something that is really, really cool. The first order is 150,000. The second order was 1 million. Why would you ever take $675,000? Just produce the product and they'll give you millions upon millions of dollars ongoing. That back then they were doing $40 million a month. You know what happened? They went from $40 million a month to $120 million a month in revenue without the product over 2 or 3 years. Imagine that growth curve. You know what would have happened?
Wow.
So leads to an interesting experience. I had to spend 2 days in jail in Cuyahoga County in Cleveland for contempt of court, battling with this guy just to get away from him. And it goes back to bad people attacking women and people that are professional litigants that make a living by throwing lawsuits are not the best people to work with. I've learned it firsthand. Right? So there's all of this negativity, and you have the what website was it again? Because I've seen the
Behind article. MLM, which is funny because you're not MLM, but
and okay. behind MLM, it's a scam. It's a scam website in the MLM industry. That what these guys do is they'll take MLM companies and they'll run a bash article about them. And then the company will pay them to have the article taken down. And when they take it down, they'll take the money and then they'll repost it. So you have to pay them again. It's called blackmail. But what's interesting is they ran this article about Root. And one, Root's not an MLM. Mm-hmm. And if you actually read the article, right? And then which is hilarious to me is they didn't take 5 minutes and watch the video that we have that even explains our entire business model. They could have done an article and they should have taken the video and just put it on the article, because the video explains that everyone's a customer, because what I did was create Amazon only with a different approach and a rewards model for sharing, because what Amazon did was freaking genius. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife started a company. Oh, you didn't know that it was his ex-wife that did it. Whoops. They had a company that were selling books from their garage, and people started to have a good experience creating a free account so they could buy books, and they started sharing with their friends. My mom and my grandmother were two of the people that were some of the initial customers, because my mom reads voraciously, loves books. She was telling her friends, hey, you got to create a free account so you can get books cheaper than going to Barnes and Noble. And all of these people started sharing. And you know how much money they gave to the people that created all the value in that company that allowed them to go public, that allowed them to create a $1 trillion plus market valuation? Freaking zero. Genius. Absolutely freaking genius. So we just took that philosophy and said, great, let me take some of the principles, the pureness of the MLM industry that's been bastardized heavily over the last 30 years, right? The concept of network marketing, what everybody loves is the fact that if you like something and you find that it creates value for you, it is in our nature to share, right? That's what we do. We share with our friends. That's why Netflix is so popular, right? Because just having another channel to watch something on is like, But what happened is people are like, you can stream shows, you can binge watch shows, you have to get Netflix so you can do this. And it went, same thing. How much money did Netflix pay people? Zero, because they prostitute you for your behavior. Again, it's freaking genius. I'm a little bit disruptive. So I was like, okay, my wife has a mission to heal people and help people. How do we create a business model that goes around that? Well, I'm going to take the MLM philosophy. I'm going to take what Amazon did, and I'm going to take the behavior on social media, and I'm going to combine it. So you can create a free account to become a customer or a free user, and you can share your code. That's not network marketing. That's not MLM. That's affiliate-based marketing. Completely different beast. So any idiot that goes, oh, well, this is an MLM. No, you're not capable of understanding a complex approach that simplified everything, and that's okay. If you want to try to fit us in a box along with a bunch of other trash, you ever watch a swan swim amongst a bunch of ducks? They stand out. I mean, put a giraffe amongst a bunch of zebras. You go, one of these is different. I don't think that one belongs. That's it. I mean, so people want to trash something new and innovative and definitely disruptive, and it goes back to what you're talking about, especially if it's a threat to their pocketbook. And this just in, my wife is a savant. She's actually a savant. What she's done from a product standpoint is off the charts. And what I had to do because of what her mission is and what she's made to do and what she's created was do something different. And because we have this amazing woman that's done these amazing things, we get attacked because it's a woman and because it's me and I'm rather disruptive. As you can see, I don't fit a mold that we've been followed by many. I won't talk really nice like Eddie Stone, and sorry, not going to happen.
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about is Dr. Christina's use of zeolites, because I think that's really, really important, is what she has done, because a zeolite is an aluminosilicate.
Sodium. Primary is a sodium aluminosilicate.
Yes.
You want me to dive into Clino and sourcing and how all that?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Because you know your wife better than I do.
Yeah. So as with anything, and you have to think of really with the Trinity, with clean slate, zero in, and restore, of a philosophy of making a cake. And I think moms know this better than men do, because most men can't cook for the life of them. And what's important is understanding that you can go to Wally World and go get imitation vanilla, trashy eggs, bad flour, cheap butter, take that home, follow a recipe, mix it and make batter with it, put it in a cake pan and get it ready. You can throw it in the oven and you'll make a cake. Or you can go to the farmer's market, you get farm fresh eggs, fresh butter, the best form of cricket flour, because you want it to be healthy. You don't want glyphosate-laden flour. You get real Madagascar vanilla. And you go home and you follow the same recipe and you mix all that up, make the batter, throw it in a pan, and you throw them both in the oven. You cook them simultaneously and you take them out. You're going to have a cake. They are not the same. They're both cake, but they are nowhere near being equivalent, right? Quality is crucial. So everything she does starts with quality. Why? One, because she's a woman. Two, she comes from biotech and pharma. They don't use shitty ingredients because, as I think it was Glenn Fry that said it in the Eagles anthology, the first 5 minutes of the show, when he was getting into the limo after their first show and they were videoing it. He's like, I don't know how long this is going to go, but I know one thing. And it's one of the greatest quotes ever. He's like, shit don't float. Period. So true. Right? You have to produce quality in order to get anything, because if you make bad music, people aren't going to listen. They're not going to come visit. If you make bad products, people aren't going to use them over time and they're not going to work. So quality is everything. And so with Clean Slate and what she's done with clinoptilolite, we source the purest source of clinoptilolite available on the market. Sole source it. Actually, no one else has access to it strategically. It's 97% pure clino, 3% bentonite, right? So the other like really, really pure products on the market will use like a 93% pure clino. So the product Pure, which is a clinoptilolite powder, which is kind of the foundational powder supplement. Micah Portney, Micah's good people. I've known him for a long time. He was the guy selling powder a long time ago. He's kind of the proprietor of powder when it comes to clino. And their source is like 93% pure, which is good. I mean, it's pretty good. Ours is 97%. You can't get pure clinoptilolite. It's not going to come out like pure cocaine, right? It's in the ground, so it's mixed with a little bit. But 97% pure clino, 3% bentonite. But what's unique is our clinoptilolite is a sodium aluminosilicate, but it's 66% silica. We know that because we have the COAs, right? You have to have the analysis to know what you're getting into. Right. So it's 66% clino.
And that's extremely important for people who don't know. The amount of silica in a zeolite is important because that's what creates the structure and the security within the body whenever you take it.
The security, it's what creates the cationic exchange properties. But there's one unique component to this that she's the only one that's ever been able to do this. Is you have sodium aluminosilicate. People hear alumino and they're like, oh my God, there's aluminum. Yeah, it is. It's what makes up the backbone, right? They're like, well, the aluminum can be freed up. No, it can't. It can if you're using a synthetic aluminosilicate where it will break down in stomach acid in your body and release aluminum, which you should never use anything synthetic. Honestly, I don't think there's many people don't eat synthetic fruits and vegetables. Why you would ever use synthetic minerals? And the people that argue that you have synthetic diamonds that they use in a lab, are you out of your freaking mind? You don't consume diamonds. Now, granted, I am a massive advocate for the use and creation of synthetic diamonds because I'm an environmentalist, right? I work to clean up people's environment. I want to clean up the outside environment, and diamond mining is one of the most toxic, horrific processes that's done on this freaking planet. That aside, the sourcing that we use is crucial, but the bioavailable silica that comes from clinoptilolite is the most valuable source of silica. And you can look up orthosilicic acid. You'll see it in our video for Clean Slate that's what we create, because the process that she created to make Clean Slate, we take this pure source of clino and we are able to break it apart in a unique manner, clean out the cage structure, but the process she uses to fracture it frees up a massive amount of this bioavailable silica. So it becomes bioavailable. So while the cage is actually grabbing onto the heavy metals, graphene, mold spores, glyphosate, other components, it's exchanging the silica for the toxins. But because she understands bioscience engineering and a lot of biotech science, and she speed reads with an eidetic memory, which is not fair, but we had the arguments initially when we were launching Root. She's like, I want to add trace minerals. I'm like, okay, well, how do you want to add trace minerals? So while we were introducing Clean Slate, she's like, well, let me look through everything. Let us find the best source. Do we use humic and fulvic acid? Do we use sea salt? Do we use, a combination of, traditional trace minerals independently to add them all together to create a specific blend? And what we came to in that conversation was, well, what's blood made of?
Mm-hmm.
Salt water.
Yeah. I went over that whenever you were on the phone. And
so she added the trace minerals in a really high concentration, but then she added the ascorbic acid to improve cellular permeability and create this superstructure. So it's not a zeolite. We start, one of our raws is clinoptilolite. The process that it goes through creates this different superstructure, this combination of bioavailable orthosilicic acid, trace minerals, vitamin C that are all wrapped together, and you still have the cage structure, because this is what's important to understand in chemistry. If you break apart a structure, or you take a honeycomb as an example, and you tear it apart in fragments, is it still a honeycomb? No, it's not anymore. It's different. You've made it into something different. So what is it? Well, it's a constituency of its parts, right? And you would call something what it is based on the concentration of its components, right? Like amalgam fillings. Amalgam fillings are not amalgam fillings. They're actually mercury fillings because they're 52% mercury. Mm-hmm. But the medical establishment, not the medical establishment, the American Dental Association doesn't want that term used because it's an admission of guilt. They call them amalgams, right? Because they're amalgamating mercury and these other metals to put something in your mouth. Another conversation. So if you have a crystalline structure that is 66% silica and you break up that structure, what do you have? You have silica. Mm-hmm. The structure of that silica with the other components that are still combined with it could vary a little bit. They could all be different sizes, which honestly you'd want. You don't want a single small structure. You want a bunch of different size cages, different structures, to do different things, to go through different parts of the body, to get into different areas, to have different binding capabilities structurally. And then you have something completely new.
Yes.
And disruptive. And that's what she's done. But only from the mind of a savant will you see that created.
And that takes me, I want to go into the information because of Dr. Christina and the work that she's done. We have some information. Some of it we could say on here, some of it we can't. So we'll have to be careful what we say. But we have some information on what the shot, that's not a lead shot, but another shot, what that is. And because of Dr. Christina's knowledge on the things going down the pipeline that she saw coming, she was able to put things together that may help with that shot. I think that's the only way I can say it without getting.
She knew. She was told 27 years ago that she was put here to deal with a pending and forthcoming war in healthcare. She was working at Pfizer at the time. She had no idea what a war in healthcare could ever mean. The people that were doing the service that were with her that they could see a banner of Esther over her couldn't understand what they were saying either. They didn't comprehend it. It was just what they were being given, right? And 5 years ago, when she met with Foster and Kimberly Gamble, and Foster, if you've seen the movie Thrive, you know who Foster and Kimberly are, but Foster's part of the P&G empire. They they told her that there was going to be an attack using viruses on the U.S. in the very near future, and they wanted her to go to either Costa Rica or Wuhan, China, and work on some retroviruses, which she declined. 7 years ago, she was working with the Chinese government, setting up hospitals in China because of the work she'd done in biotech and what she'd done, some of the work she'd done in healthcare afterwards. She's got really, really close relationships with high-ranking medical doctors that are in a land called China. And she communicates with them. They're friends. So working at Bristol Myers Squibb 16 years ago and working on vaccines that were using caterpillar larvae and insect larvae on delivery mechanisms, which had never been done before, or incubation bases, which had never been done before, and using mRNA-based approaches were utter failures because the dogs and the rats, so the beagles and the rats that they used, those that didn't die in 9 months were infertile and had autoimmune issues. So they knew they could never use it in human trials. But she knew a lot of this stuff was coming out. I just got really good news. The NPN number for 0N just came in.
Woohoo!
The last of the 3 is done. That's good news. But I forgot what I was saying because I was celebrating.
You were talking about the animals.
Yeah, so the animals that all died, they knew they couldn't release it, but she didn't know why, 16 years ago that would be relevant today. But when she started to get word that there were some things coming and putting all these things together, she knew that when she was an adjunct professor at Hopkins, she knew that when they were doing autopsies on people that died of cancer, it actually wasn't the cancer that killed them, it was fungus.
Fungus, yep.
And if she was going to take care of herself, and this is a mom of 4 that's lost kids to cancer, our 17-year-old had cancer when he was 2. She's had a pituitary tumor, a spinal tumor, a sacromyelia. She's had melanoma, squamous cell, basal cell carcinoma cancers for 25 plus years because of the choice she made to carry her kid. She's got experience. She's like, look, and every time she's had to deal with something herself, she's always gone integrative. She's never gone allopathic, whether it's taking care of kids, taking care of herself, or taking care of family. She's always gone integrative. We always go integrative, right? And she knew what the problems were because she's been through it all, and she speed reads, and she has an eidetic memory. So everything she's ever seen, read, or heard, she has recall of. It's not fair. So she took all that into account to say, okay, this is what I need to do. And she does things based on what she's told, right? Not from what she knows. So she was told, do this. That's what the Trinity is. Why is it relevant now? Because she was told, and she's had this over her since she was 2. Everything's just converging. And so you look at that and you go, well, how is it pertinent? It's the solution. Well, how do you know it's the solution? Because you're not looking at the problem right. People are thinking what's going on has something to do with a virus. There's nothing to do with that. What it has everything to do with is that your body's been poisoned for multiple generations. And it's this weakness that leaves you exposed for every issue that's there. Did you know 1974, the World Health Organization published all the data that they knew at the time that environmental toxins were the cause of 85% of all chronic degenerative diseases. You know this. We'll just share it for everybody that doesn't know it. Mm-hmm. You go, wait a minute. They knew in 1974 what the cause of the problem was, and they were so freaking smart. They said, we're going to set that aside. We're not going to address it because we know those are there because we put them in people. And all of the symptoms, based on all the symptoms that are created from these, they're going to be different in every person. So based on the symptoms that express, we can give them a diagnosis. And based on that diagnosis, we can say, we can treat you with this drug or this drug or this drug or this drug or this drug. And the use of those drugs is going to create other symptoms. And the prolonged aspect of the exposure that's already there and additional exposure is going to lead to other symptomology, which is going to lead to additional diagnoses, which is going to lead to additional prescriptions over time, is the most genius business model ever. I wish I was part of those families, because the house that Foster and Kimberly Gamble have off the P&G empire is the greatest palace my wife has ever seen. She's worked with kings in different countries. She's traveled to 85 countries. She's never seen a palatial estate like they have. That's what pharma's created.
You wouldn't fit in.
I've been diagnosed by my psychologist that I happen to marry as oppositionally defiant. I don't know what to tell you.
So there are some things that we can't say on social media, and some things that will get the company in trouble, so we can't make claims in any way. But one thing that I want you guys to know about Dr. Christina and Clayton is their hearts for humanity. It's creating something to give people a fighting chance, because of what it does in the body, to strengthen your body to be able to do what it needs to do. So if I say more than that, this will probably get taken down and then nobody will have the information. But let me see what I can say. I hesitate to say anything because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So but I'm glad Clayton said that about Christina, because I wasn't sure what I could talk about. Dr. Christina is an amazing woman, by the way. You can go to the Root Brands YouTube channel, and you can watch some of Dr. Christina's talks and her explain things about what goes on that I can't say. Thank you, Wendy. So yes. So cricket flour, Michelle, that just means flour without glyphosate. And
no, it actually means ground up crickets.
Oh, it does?
Oh yeah. No. Oh. Cricket flour is freaking amazing. The protein content is off the freaking charts. And
never mind.
Profile and everything of it.
No,
it tastes a little bit different, but yeah, cricket flour.
We are not John the Baptist eating locusts and honey, okay?
No, but it's a much greater source than wheat.
I corn wheat. That's what I do. Anyway, okay. I had a quick question. Brittany asked, whenever we were talking about permeating the cell membrane and everything at the beginning, she says, so does fulvic acid. Does that get into the cells because it's advertised as doing so?
No. And humic and fulvic acid are basically decayed plant matter, which a lot of us would like to call dirt. It is what it is. You know, they say, well, it's deeper in the ground. It's old dirt, and it's been liquefied sometimes because of compression or whatnot, found in different deposits in peat bogs. Do you know what dies in peat bogs?
I mean,
no.
Okay.
Stuff is nasty, but does it permeate? No, it doesn't. And humic and fulvic acid are phenomenal for remineralizing agriculture because it's really rich, nutrient dense dirt. Do you know where you use really rich, nutrient dense dirt? In agriculture. You should mix it in with your produce and your plants will explode in nutrient value. They will become tremendously abundant. And then when you eat them, you get all the minerals and everything that you put in the soil. That's how that stuff's supposed to be used, not for human consumption. You're not made to eat dirt. You do as a kid to help your immune system to get some exposure to pathogens, but it's not something that's used for human consumption. We're made from freaking seawater. There's a reason we use sea salt, because the 72 trace minerals found in sea salt, that's what we need. The thing with humic and fulvic acid is they talk about there's 89 trace minerals and such found in humic and fulvic acid. There's 59 that are essential, 72 that are found in sea salt. What are the other 17? Mercury, cadmium, arsenic, lead, gadolinium. Oh, those are toxic metals, toxic trace minerals. And you'll hear people say, oh, well, yeah, they're natural in their soil. Oh, so they're already chelated and they're more bioavailable. Great freaking idea. Because you know what safe amount? I got to bounce because I'm dealing with an emergency. But I'll let you do that.
Okay.
I'll be on mute.
Okay. So I just wanted to answer that question for everybody because we saw that. So what would be good for skin or hair? That's the thing about Clean Slate is it has the bioavailable silica, so you don't have to take a bunch of collagen powder or collagen drinks or anything like that. It will actually provide the collagen at a cellular level and to the tissue so that your body will start to produce its own collagen because of what you're deficient in along with the trace minerals. So that's why it's really good. Yeah, cricket flour. I didn't know that was really crickets. Oh, okay. So, yes. So thank you guys for being here, allowing me to kind of decompress some things that have been going on over the last few months, some really mean things that have been happening because of the information. And you got it. If you're honest and you're a truly honest person, you have to follow the science, you have to follow the information, and you have to do what's right for people. And if that goes against what you have been taught, because a lot of us were pro other things and then we learned the truth, and that gave us the foothold to go forward in knowing the truth, and we were okay with it. So even as paradigms shift, we're kind of in that season right now in the world. Just be open-minded, take the research, look it up. If you want more information, just let me know. If you want to know about Dr. Christina's formulations and what she does, you can send me a message. I'm not going to put a link down in the comments or anything like that because there's a lot of here in the community that's in our Detox Girls community. And because of the social sharing aspect of Root, those people have people that they've been talking to that they can share their customer link with, and I don't want to take that away from them. I also work with some amazing ministries that are getting the word out there to help people have a fighting chance. That's the only way I can put it on social media. Have a fighting chance on what's going on right now, whether you took a shot or not, whether you're worried about a pro that has a SP at the beginning or not. This is information that they are giving to their audience as well, so I don't want to take that away from, especially from the ministries. So if you want more information, more than happy to give it to you. You just got to message me. I can get you connected with whomever you need to be connected with for the social sharing aspect. If you want to know more about some of the information that's covered, you can look for the Detox Girls. I can put that link for our education group in the comments, and then you can join as you would like. Thank you, Clayton, for being here with me. You know, guys, this is part of Clayton's heart. So whenever I was being attacked, and I was literally had death threats and lies being told about me and then not giving me the opportunity to respond, Clayton came in and he was like, oh no, we are family. And he actually came and took charge like a big brother, and it means a lot. That's the type of people that him and Christina are. So they're wonderful, wonderful people. Dr. Christina is, her heart was actually to go into ministry. She wanted to take care of orphans and everything, and she was planning to be a missionary whenever she was younger before the Lord called her into what he has prepared and everything. So that's really cool. So I just love her to death. Pray for the company. Seek the Lord and what he's doing, because the opposition of the enemy is great. So as you guys go throughout your weeks and your days, if you're prayer warriors, please pray for what is going on, and that get this information out to people. They need the help, because if the statistics are right, then we're going to see, I think my son did it. He said if 70% of the people who have a shot, if that 70% of those people don't survive, and then 70% of those 30% are infertile, then you're looking at 170 million people-ish, 150, 170 million people in the United States over the next 3 years. So we need to get this information out to them. This is about humanity's survival and about fighting the evil in the country. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for being here. And I guess we'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.